Welcome back. So thank you so much for making the time again to be here. Mr. Joel, thank you for that very thought-provoking and starting us off with powerful personal stories. And part of the reason why I wanted to do this Men of Change, again, I've been dealing for a very long time with men. I think it's one of those things that once you get especially into Christianity, especially in a ministry like the one that I've been involved with, where there are a lot of men who concentrate a lot on developing men. And since pretty much when I stepped foot into the ministry in 1999, 2000, I walked into a world where there was a lot of development for men. And I'm a product of that. And I've learned that, I've adopted that, and it's been pretty much my life for the last 26 years or so. And I wanted to just, talk to us men about the 12 battles of being a man. And I say battles because I realize that manhood is a war, is a battle. It's not something that all of us automatically have. It's interesting how many times we hear the statements, be a man, but nobody bothers to tell you exactly what that is. And oftentimes it comes up in reaction to something stupid that you have done. You've done something wrong, all of a sudden be a man. Or some struggle that you're going through and then you are struggling to achieve whatever. They say, be a man. And constantly the statement is, be a man. But what the heck in the world does it mean then to be a man? And I realized for me, it has been a battle. And part of the reason why it's a battle is because also in a country like ours, of course, many of us grow up without the presence of strong male figures. The presence of our fathers, presence of strong uncles. It's typically believed that by research, almost 70% of South African kids grow up without the presence of a father, whether biological or step, it doesn't matter. And actually, very, very concerning is the fact that almost 40% of South African kids grew up without both the mother and the father present. I know I was one of those. I grew up without both the presence of my mother and the presence of my father. My grandfather was around for some time, and then he passed away. And so this is a serious pandemic. And some of those battles Pastor Gerald has already alluded to and has already spoken to quite intently. He's already spoken about the issue of identity. Who am I? He's already spoken about the question of purpose. And Moses also alluded to that as well, about purpose. Who am I? And there are other factors that we're going to be looking at today. And so feel free to take your time to write down some notes that we are recording. And we'll get opportunity then to sort of have questions and answers. So for this program that we're going to be running of the Men of Change, there are 12 battles, which also become the 12 battles of a man program, which anybody can take to figure, themselves out as a man if you're struggling to become a man. According to the Bible, in the beginning, God created Adam, and Adam was male. And then eventually he created Eve, and then he called them both Adam. He called them both one. But there's some very interesting statement that God makes, or that the Bible makes about after Adam was created, and that was that he would be fruitful, multiply, and replenish and cultivate the land. There was an issue of something that he would get out of the ground, as far as planting and also replenishing, which means that a factor of multiplication. And from that, we immediately learn that there is something that a man is supposed to do, and a big part of what a man does in the world is to produce productivity. And as one of the biggest frustrations that we have as men is that if you are existing a life of no productivity, it can be quite tormenting, because you feel like a lot of your intellectual energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, psychological energy, in fact, even emotional energy is being wasted because you're not seeing anything productive with it. And so it is quite fascinating then, therefore, Like in a country like South Africa, where we have 62.5% unemployment rate, of which, of course, the majority of those are young boys, that there's a lot of there are a lot of issues, a lot of emotional issues, a lot of suicide issues. Suicide is on the rise, isolation is on the rise, substance abuse is on the rise, alcohol abuse is on the rise, and of course we've got violence also on the rise. We've got all kinds of issues which are indicative of idle, productive energy that is not being used in a very purposeful way. And so this becomes something that is quite concerning. And hopefully by the time that we're done, we'll also be able to answer the question of purpose. And so thinking about what is my purpose and how, even if I don't have a job, can I be able to live somewhat in whatever purpose that God has given for me? So the first, is it on? Am I on? Am I connected? Are we good? Okay. Let's just wait for that to come up. So there are these 12 battles, and I'm going to try. Unfortunately, I'm going to be rattling, going through them quite swiftly. We're not going to have as much time, purely because we just never have enough time for these types of conversations. Yeah. It's not because of anything. It's just that we can never have enough time. Jot down your questions in the meantime, because then when I do Q&A, then we can be able to go through some of those questions. So there are these 12 battles. And the first battle that we have is the battle of identity. The battle of identity. And I want to start off by just making an observation that I want us to consider together. If you study history, you'll notice that whenever any nation took over any nation in the time of war, the first thing that the nation would do was to change the identity of the people that they have won over. How do they do that? The first thing that they would do, they would change their names. You see it even in the Bible as well. We read a lot about Daniel. Thank you. And the Babylonian captivity, the Egyptian captivity, all sorts of captivities. And the first thing that they would do is that there'd be a change of names. And then there'd be a change of culture. And culture will change rituals, because culture holds within itself the history of how we maintain ourselves as people. Culture is food, is the way we dress, it's not just the language, but also the rituals. What are some of the rituals? And those rituals identify who we are as a people. And so when these nations took over, like you see in South Africa, apartheid happened. What happened? There was the whole move of changing even education into Afrikaans, remember? And then, of course, right now we're speaking in a language that is not native to this continent. And that's also testament of what happened in the past. And then also there's a change of those rituals, and also then a change of history. An attempt, in fact, to confuse and to change history. And right now there's a massive battle around history of different places in the world, because history is a crucial part of our identity. So at a personal level, your background is crucial to what your identity is. If you come from a background that has confusion about who you are, then you'll find that you have difficulty understanding who you are. It's one of the biggest struggles that we have in this country of South Africa, especially for African people. And also a big issue that we have even with African Americans in the United States, who have been shipped from ships in Africa and going to the USA, and somewhat in their history got lost. And then South Africa also have the colored community, who also have quite a bit of a confused identity or mixed identity. And the end result of that is that you see some psychosocial conditions that happen where people have confused identity. And you can see it even at a very personal level. It happens, of course, at a macro level, but at a personal level. At a macro level, countries that have issues of identity, you'll see there's a high alcoholism, there's absence of, especially of family structures. There are also a lot of issues of vulnerability, especially for both young boys and also for girls. But then there's also the issue of substance abuse. Because if you don't know who you are, you also are not able to leverage what is best. You don't know what is best about you. What is best about you? Because the person that is battling for the identity is so dependent of being told who they are. They're looking and searching for, who am I? Who am I? And as long as there's that emptiness in your mind and it's not been fulfilled, you start to look for things to fill that in. Alcohol, sex, success, some unhealthy ways of trying to fill that in. That's one of the reasons why you see that, for those of us that don't have a very strong background of who we are, it costs you along the way. It costs you along the way as a man. Who have I become? Is a big question. We heard from Moses earlier on, explaining to us the struggle. Who have I become? Pastor Joel also mentioned it. Who am I? It's a question that I've struggled a lot with in being a black South African man who grew up in apartheid South Africa, especially with sometimes this tribal mix, growing up as Jabu Zwane among Basotho, but not really being Basotho, but not also being fully Umzulu. And then in South Africa, where you're not fully integrated into the system of the country. So there's a constant bashing and a questioning of who am I as a person? And you'll find that as long as you don't have that answered very clearly, it's going to be an issue. For me, it changed when I became a Christian. For me, it changed when I started to learn a bit more about who God is. Chris mentioned early on about how Pastor Ronaldo told him, listen, to find your purpose, you got to know who God is. And not from a religious point of view, but from the point of being a creator. Like, if he created me, then who is he? And realizing that some of the traits that I have, of course, are the traits that God himself has. God is a creator. That means that as a man, I'm a creator. So that's why when a man is not creating, a man doesn't feel like he's fulfilled, doesn't feel like he's significant. And another thing that we learn about God from the very beginning is that God, there was the world, and the world was without form. There was darkness. And God said, let there be light. And then he said, let the light and darkness separate. And then let there be, let the water separate from the seas. And then he spoke animals and everything into being. And that tells us something very crucial about a man, is that one of the identities of a man is that a man also brings things to life with his mouth, with his words. And the question that you're going to ask yourself as a man is that, what are you bringing to life? When you're speaking out loud especially, what are you bringing to life? What are you saying about yourself? What are you saying about your life? What are you saying about who you are? What are you saying about who you're not? I've shared this before, that there's a research that says that a typical child, by the time that they reach 10 years old, they would have heard no 1.5 million times. You would have heard no 1.5 million times, which basically means the following, that a lot of us form identity based not on who we are, but who we have been told we are not. Do we get that? Mm-hmm. That the more that you're told that you're not something, the harder it is for you to figure out who you are. There's a lot of no's along the way. No. And one of the ways that we discover who we are is by trying out certain things, by doing. And the more that I do, the more that I create, the more that I discover who I am, because I find out exactly what I have inside. Because who I am isn't just about my history. not that just I'm a man, but it's also about what has been endowed inside of me, what has been given to me. The reason why some of us are so insecure about even trying out our skills is because we are doubtful of who we are. So creating, speaking, and then there's a question of who I don't want to be. If all your life and a lot of your life as an adult, you're spending thinking, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be this, then who exactly then do you want to become? It's almost like you're trying to play a game, but in your playing the game, you are defending all the time, but there is no offensive plan. Can you win a game only defending? Nobody has ever won a game only defending. There's a point where the opponent who's coming at you is going to become so offensive towards you that you're going to lose. So you don't win by being self-protective, by being defensive, by trying not to be. You win, you become by being. And question is that then who do I want to be? And then this question becomes very easy to answer, or we can find clues to this, the answer to this question, when we start to look at what have we observed about other men? What have we observed about our lives? Moses mentioned very well, like there was a point in his life where he was standing and looking himself in the mirror and saying, I don't like who this person has become. I don't like where I am right now. And now it's time to go forward to discover who I want to be. And there's too much fear right now that I see in men. Fear of being taken advantage of. There are all these men that are fearful of marrying gold diggers. And the question then becomes, do you even have no gold for anybody to dig? All right? And then these men who are afraid of letting women lead them. And the question that I ask you is this, are you even leading yourself? Have you shown any kind of leadership capabilities at all? What have you led in your life that you would want somebody to come in your life, or you'd invite somebody into your life and you want to lead them? Lead them into what? Confusion? Lead them into oblivion? Lead them into directionlessness? Lead them into distraction? Lead them into passivity? Submit to what? If you are not even able to control yourself. That's the question about who do I want to be? Who do you want to be? If you want to be a leader, then you must start first with what? Leading yourself. All right? How many times have you said you're going to do things but not do them? But then you have a problem with somebody that doesn't trust you. Well, you said you were going to do this last month. You said you were going to do this 6 months ago. You said you're going to do this. And you've been sharing these things with these people. And now you're wondering why they don't feel any kind of, hope that this time around, you're going to get it done. Who do you want to be? And you can start off by looking at some of the things that you don't want, maybe go in the opposite, or say, if I don't want to be a passive person, a passive man, a directionless man, a confused man, then if I don't want to be confused, then maybe I must get more educated. Maybe I must get more informed. Maybe I must put myself around places and people who seem to know what they're talking about, who are a lot more informed than I am. And then maybe then my ignorance can have a chance of being completely wiped off, or at least quite a bit of it being reduced to a level that is tolerable. Because we will always be ignorant in something, in some way. Identity. You are not your past. You are not but you are who you choose to be. God has already decided who you are. That as a man, you can be fruitful. You can be productive. You can multiply. You are able to have... Oh, my goodness. Why am I having butter hands today? Fingers. That you already have been given. That you have ability Yes, please. Water will be helpful. You have so many abilities and so many skills to achieve and to create and to build so many things. What are those things? See, we are in an era, and we have been in an era where there's been so much emasculation and of manhood, to the degree that so many of us men, we blame not being productive to something not being done for us. Someone is not doing something for me. I'm waiting for something. Just get sorry about that. But manhood is, we're creators. We are creators. We are helpers. We are supporters. And so, where are you doing that? 85% of gang members and violent offenders in the US prisons come from fatherless homes. Yes, it is true. But it is also very true that you can, at some point in your life when you're older, decide to go against the wrong that you grew up under. Because you can be able to apply a mind and say, I don't want to be the violent, silent, mean man that I saw my mother, my father, my uncle, my brothers, whoever. I don't want to be that person. You're not entirely just a victim. One of the worst spirits that I see today, one of the worst, and I hate everything, and I mean hate, I despise it with everything in me, is these contents online that teach men to be victims. Everywhere you turn around, everything is being blamed to be against men. Like, that's the worst thing you can ever think about when you start thinking that everything is stacked up against you. By whom? Are we, what's the society? If we say society, then which society? Are we not members of society? Are we not half of society? And by the way, people always think that women are more than men. If you look at census stats around the world, it's about 49%, 51%. So it's actually 1-to-1. It's 1-to-1. What has happened, and one of the reasons why we feel like we're victims, is because if you go to any community today and you look at any kind of non-profit organization, any social movement, who is leading those? Who's leading soup kitchens? Who's leading anti-abuse campaigns? Who's leading anything that tries to develop the community to become better? Who? Who, people? Women. Women, and we have somehow come to believe that it's women who are supposed to now change so that we can feel useful. I'm sorry. That's not true. One of the reasons why women end up doing so many things that they're doing is because there's so many of us who are passive, who are not doing what we're supposed to do. And that whenever we are invited, even as men, to be part of anything that can be able to help men, we show in very low numbers. And we have to then deal with that and say, if society is going to change, I'm a member of society. And as a matter of fact, what remains very interesting is that society is still very responsive to what a man has to say than it is to what a woman has to say. And so that's why it's so dangerous when you as a man submit your intellectual capacity to this rhetoric of victimhood. Because now, as opposed to being productive with being a victor and overcoming and being a member of society that contributes to the betterment of society, what ends up happening? You are now productive in passivity, in victimhood, and in feeling like there's nothing that you can achieve. And it's part of the reason why so many bad men are on the rise. Because so many of us good men don't realize the power that we have. In the absence of righteousness and goodness, evil arises. We need to get tired of seeing our sisters being hijacked and being thrown into cars. We need to get tired of seeing displays of violence against the people that we care about, and we just sit there and we do nothing about it. We need to remember who we are. Identity. Psychologically, a person's self-conception is a person's self-concept and internal consistency. What is your own self-concept? And internally, what are some of the things that you say about yourself? Because ultimately, what you say about yourself is ultimately who you become. What do you say about yourself, to yourself, 24/7? Because 24/7 you are with you in your own mind. What are you saying? If your mind is a garden and thoughts are seeds, what are those seeds going to bear in the next 3 months, in the next 12 months, in 2 years from now? Because your mind is like a garden. Every word that comes into your mind is a seed. How are you germinating your mind? Where germination is the fruits, it's the vitamins, it's the minerals, it's the manure that you put into the ground to make sure the ground is rich. And that has to do with your atmosphere. Where do you place yourself regularly as a man? Who do you hang around with? And then in that place, what seeds are being spread to go into your mind? Are they seeds that build you, that make you feel like you can be able to overcome, that give you words of comfort, God's words of hope, words of encouragement? Are they wise words? Do you surround yourself with counselors, or do you surround yourself with bloodsuckers? Who's around you? Who's speaking into your soul? Who's speaking into your mind? Who's telling you who you are and telling you who you're not? It's important for us to understand that we are highly influenceable beings. Highly influenceable, and God has designed us that way for a reason. Because we don't have to then learn every single thing we need to learn every minute and with every single effort. It would take us millions of years if we needed to learn everything manually. And so we have been created with this incredible ability to extract millions, if not billions, of data from the atmosphere, from the environment, and it accumulates nicely into our minds, and our brains categorizes everything nicely, and it's infused and integrates into our emotions and into our body, so that we don't have to go through that manual process. And that is why being a man means that you're going to be very jealous about your brain, about your mind, guarded with everything that is in you, because the Bible says that it's the eye gate. It's eye gate. And it says the following, that, if the darkness, that the light that is in your mind is darkness, oh, how great is that darkness. And so if you're constantly putting yourself in dark places where dark seeds are being put into your mind, and then in later you are expecting that your decisions will bring about light, it is no wonder that so many of us, our decisions bring more darkness, because what has been implanted in our minds is darkness. And we have what? The power to make that decision. Science says genes and environment, memory shape who you are. All right? Whatever you put in your mind is what you will remember later. And sometimes, unfortunately, yes, we've gone through stuff and we remember terrible things. But the only way that we can change terrible memories, especially around trauma, is through healing. And instead of looking at whatever has happened to you now with pain and sadness, you actually look at it from how far you have come. You look at it from as part of your strength. With whatever bit of strength that God has given to me, I've been able to overcome that. No longer is now a trigger and a reminder of your oppression and of your limitations, but actually reminds you of, even though you are limited, you can still be able to overcome so much. And to get to that place as a man, sometimes you got to admit that, hey, listen, I got hurt growing up. I'm mad about being left, my father leaving me, my mother leaving me. I'm mad about some of the things that have happened. Own the anger so that you can do something about it. Because if you don't own the anger because of the pain that you have felt, that anger is going to dominate you. It's going to control you. And you're going to find yourself breaking people that have got nothing to do with your pain. You're going to find yourself destroying things and gifts that are supposed to improve and better your life. You're going to find yourself. And I'm not talking and standing up here as if I have figured it out. I'm as typical a black South African as you can think about. Growing up poor, the presence of both parents, surrounded with alcohol, surrounded with dysfunction. I have witnessed some of my family members being sexually assaulted. I mean, I've experienced poverty to the level, not to the poverty of, I've got nothing, we only have one TV, or there's no car at home. Poverty of not knowing what you're going to eat almost on a daily basis. Not having food to take to school, walking to school, not having school shoes, growing up and living off borrowed clothes. From grade standard 3. I can remember this, that from standard 3, which is grade 5, all the way to grade 12, I never had one single pair of new shoes. Not one. Every single pair of shoes that I wore from that time was borrowed from someone or handed down from someone. In fact, I got so sick and tired of hand-me-downs. I remember one time one of my aunts came from Joburg and whoever, the people that she was working for, domestic worker, whoever they were working for, they gave her clothes, jeans and stuff, but they were so torn. Ripped apart, and she was called us in as cousins. Hey, here's some clothes. And I looked at all of them. I saw, but these clothes are more torn than my own clothes. And I didn't want to wear any of them. And I remember she had a massive issue with me that I think I'm better. I'm like, but these things are more torn than the ones I already have. I know I'm poor and I've got torn clothes, but why would I take more torn clothes to make myself more poor? Anyway. And so I'm not talking to you guys as if I'm some privileged guy. I went through all of these things I'm talking about. And I'm proposing and I'm suggesting that there's a point in your growth as a man that your history cannot be used as an excuse anymore. That the fact that you're not doing anything about some of the things that you know are wrong that happen in your life now have become a reflection of your unwillingness to change more than the power of what has happened to you. So that's why we need to go. Men go to therapy. Men go to counseling. Because we need help. We don't know what it means to be, what manhood is, because we keep on being told. Beautiful scripture says this in Psalm 139:14, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Act like you're fearfully and wonderfully made. What's identity? Social pressure to perform, provide, and to remain silent. Silence, if it doesn't help you to think through and to come back with some sensible logic, is not helpful. If silence is a sign of defiance, quiet because you want to show people that I'm defiant, you're not going to move me, unhelpful. Silence is a way of resigning yourself from society, unhelpful. I like being quiet. I like being alone many, many times. But it is for me to process. It is for me to introspect. It is for me to gain perspective so that when I come into the public arena to engage with other human beings, I am not some mean, cruel, inconsiderate, cold, distant, person with a stone heart. That even whenever I step into the kitchen, even the cockroaches run away. The flies, like, hey, he's here, guys, so we're gonna get killed. And then everybody runs away because you, what's the word in this course again for the boogeyman? That's it. But there's another one, man. There's another word. There's not course a word. Can't remember now. But anyway, I talk a lot, man. There's now. Okay. So being absent, like these are things you have to look into that affect your identity. If you had absent or emotionally distant father, that affects your identity, or mother. Trauma, comparison, and toxic masculinity. And toxic masculinity is this whole idea of having to always prove that you're a man by, how much you can fight, how much you can drink, how much you can dominate, how dysfunctional you can be. That there are all these memes where people are very proud of being absolutely dysfunctional. That's toxicity. Because remember, whatever that you accept in your mind, in the end, that is the seed you're planting in your mind. And that in the future will have certain detrimental results. Part of the reason why sometimes we struggle to transform is because we're not careful. We're not mindful of the environments that we're putting ourselves in and who's around us. Culture that promotes certain stoic images of being a man and then being disconnected from God's design. God's design of love, God's design of kindness, of care, of gentleness, of understanding, of compassion, of patience, of perseverance, of discipline, of accountability. Like we are supposed to be that. We are created for that because we are powerful beings. Weak as we are also very, very powerful. If you look at any kind of change that has happened in the history, most of those changes were led by one person who was followed and assisted and supported by thousands and millions of people. But one of us has the ability to impact and to change 1,000 people in your lifetime. Did you know that? That in your lifetime, your existence, your life can impact up to 1,000 people. What is that impact that you want? The next one is purpose. Very difficult to come to purpose if you don't know your identity, because your identity starts to, you start to really become very curious about your skills, your talents, your gifts. You start to really pay attention to what people are saying about who you are. And you start to compare that to who you think you are. And somewhere in there is a balance that happens. That people do, and they can say who you are based on how they are experiencing you. And sometimes it can hold a bit of a clue in who you are. When they say to you, oh, you're so kind, you're so gentle, you're so gifted, you're so talented. I like hanging around you because of this. I like this about you. It's information that when you compare it and you start to measure it against who you think you are, and you're like, oh, okay, do I like that or do I not like that? Because there are those crucial questions that you got to answer. Do I matter? To whom do I matter? For what do I matter? All right? Do I matter? To whom do I matter? For what do I matter? Is that how I want to matter? And should I change that? Should I change that is the fifth question. And so, if you're listening to people and they're telling you, okay, you matter to me as a man for this, is that how you want to matter? If your friend says to you, listen, you matter to me because you are my, my body for getting multiple girls. You're my Casanova buddy. Is that how you want to matter? Or you are my buddy when I go get violent, I want to go beat somebody up. Let's go. Do you want to matter like that? Oh, yeah, you are my substance, abuse friend. Is that how you want to matter? Or you're my buddy because of we can just go get stoned and do something useless. Is that how you want to matter? Or do you want to matter from when I'm with you, I get something constructive. I feel encouraged. I feel like I can achieve more in life because of the words you share with me. I want to go with you where you go, because where you're going, there's life. Because where you're going, there's something that can build me up. Where are you going? I want to come with you. I want to come with you because I feel inner peace. I feel comforted. beyond the size of your pocket as a man, beyond your size, the size of your body and your height, your muscles. What do you matter for the people? Because purpose is a couple of things. Do you have a vision for yourself? In other words, when you imagine your life a couple of years from now, how do you want the world around you to look like because of your presence? Because of your performance? Because of people being related to you? Because of your actions? Because of the things you've said? What is your vision? How do you envision your life? Beyond just working to make money, once you have received the money, you've received the position, how do you want the world around you to look because of your impact? The second one is impact. That impact, who is going to be changed because of you? Who is going to feel important, loved, cared for, understood, accepted, assisted, supported, guided, led, strengthened because of you? If you don't imagine that, then you have nothing. You have nowhere to go. And anywhere you land is fine because you have absolutely nowhere to go. I heard a statement once, maybe I even said, I can't even remember, that people who are going nowhere want you to go there with them. No, it doesn't matter. Let's go. We'll see. And also people who are doing nothing also want you to sit there and do nothing with them. That's why people who love doing nothing have a problem with you doing something. And they'll tell you about how much you've changed. Oh, you've changed since you started this job. Yeah, of course I have changed. Something productive is happening in my life. That's why I'm realizing I've got to change. Be mindful and pay attention to men around you who have a problem with you trying to change for the better. Mark them. Mark. Confused now. You know, this training can be very confusing. M-A-R-K, mark them. Mark them. Not mark. Mark them. Identify and pay attention to how they respond to you when something positive happens in your life, when you start to take positive steps. Listen to what they're fighting. Listen to what they have with you as an issue. Because that person is standing in your vision. Significance and, of course, productivity. I spoke about that, so I'm going to move on from that. Purpose. A man without a purpose will chase pleasure to feel alive and then die a slow, meaningless death. Ish. Sounds like I'm very depressing today. Is it depressing? Is it impressing upon you something important? Okay, great. Only 1 in 4 men globally say that they have a clear sense of purpose in their lives. It's according to Auxano Group 2020 Men and Identity Report. There is a Men and Identity Report. Go check it out. Google it. 1 in 4 men. That basically means that 75% of men don't have a sense of purpose. We have to get that number up, guys. That number has to go up. What is purpose? Purpose is built starting with a vision. Vision becomes clearer the more you talk about it. Sometimes it's not very clear, right? As I've said, I've already asked you how to get that vision. Problems to solve. There are some things that bother you right now as a man in society and in the world, that when you look at them, and then a thought comes to mind that says, somebody must do something about it. The fact that you're constantly thinking about that somebody must do something about it, you are that somebody. You are that somebody who can do something about it. It bothered me many things have bothered me for a very long time. And I would try to talk to people and I'll try to get people involved and I realize, you know what? This is my burden. This very same men of change movement that we're talking about, for a very long time in my mind, be invited to go to certain functions to go speak about men's issues, but you get there, you talk about them, and then you're done. But it started to bother me that there isn't a continuous program where after this type of event, there is a literal program that you can go through where you can start to really negotiate with these things with yourself, within yourself, with other men, and compare notes. So eventually, I felt like God was saying, well, you are that guy to put that together. That's why this is not only a talk, but it's also part of a program. It's a program that you can run through the entire year as a man. You can do it with your buddies. You can do it on your own. But everything is always better if there's some kind of company around it. So people can hold you accountable. Solutions to give. What solutions do you want to give? If your solution is only about making you rich, it's a very limited kind of solution. Rich to do what? Only to serve yourself. There's a reason why, and I'm not going to sit here and say, listen, being rich is not going to help you with anything. I'll tell you this. People who are very rich and only rich for themselves are still not satisfied. Yes, it is true. It's nice. They cry in nice golden showers. They're washing with mineral still water purified and taking a shower. And they're crying at the very same time. It's beautiful. But let me tell you what about the inside. The inside is the same. The inside of a person that's hurt is the same as the inside of the person. The inside of a person that is hurt on a penthouse in Santon is the same as the inside of a person that's hurt in some shack somewhere in Alex. Exactly the same. That at the end of the day, that emptiness is going to overwhelm both of them the same way. One, yes, will be buried in some cheap coffin, and the other one will be sent off in a golden plate coffin. But unfortunately, the destination is exactly the same. Emptiness, loneliness, pain, hurt, confusion, fear, anxiety, depression, sadness, sorrow, grief, all of these negative emotions in the human body, they present exactly the same way, whether you're a man, a woman, whether you are a white person, a black person, it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're rich or poor, they present exactly the same way. Cancer presents exactly the same way in your human body. And the reason for those things are the same. What solution? Which area do you want to contribute in? I want to contribute in the area of healing human beings, of helping them to go through the process of transformation, because that's how I go through. Number 3, of helping them to get restored, because I realize many of us, again, when you go through the process of identity, you are getting restored back to how God wants you to be, and then to grow. Because once you have been healed, you have been restored, and you have been transformed, you have to grow. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And then lastly, you got to thrive. And thriving is that once I've grown, I've got to be able to then share my growth with everybody else. Because, and I want you to listen to me very carefully about this. This is a very fascinating thing that I'm experiencing myself and that I'm seeing. As I'm counseling marriages, counseling people, as I'm coaching people, as I'm leading, as I'm going through life myself and having some serious introspection, I realize this about love. You know how the Bible says that love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and then love your neighbor as yourself. There is a certain love experience that you can only experience if you love someone. But when you love people, you feel a certain kind of love that no amount of loving that you get from someone else will give you. This is the reason why we are so hurt when we get rejected, especially as men. When a woman says no to your love, it hurts. But let's make it even more closer to home. This is why it hurts so much. One of the reasons why it hurts when we don't have our parents present, is because the love that we have for our parents has nowhere to go. The love that you have for your absent father, for your absent mother, for the one that has passed away, for the one that is emotionally unavailable, that love has nowhere to go, because that love is for them and for them only. The love that you have for your parents is for them and for them only. And when you are denied that opportunity, you live in grief. Because grief is love that has nowhere to go. It stays there almost as a burden that weighs very heavily on your soul. And that's one of the reasons why I hate, with everything that is in me, this negative content that is anti-relationship, that is anti-love, where you're always being told, choose you, cut them off, and you're taught manipulating tactics on how you can get things from people. Yes, you can, but let me tell you something. As long as you are not loving and you are not paying your debt of love, if you're not paying your debt of love, my friend, your cycle of love is incomplete. There's one of the reasons why the Bible says in Romans 13 verse 8, it says, owe nothing to no one except but to love them. You must pay your love debt. You must pay it as a man. And this current system, this current time that we're living in, that's teaching us men not to pay our love debt, is killing us. That's why we are grieved. Because you get no life from seeing others get destroyed, get killed, get undermined, from withholding from them what is due to them. Do you enjoy it when you are not loving your wife the way you're supposed to love them, and you see that they're hurt by the fact that you're withholding your love? Do you sit there and go, yeah, I showed her how much I can withhold my love from her. I've showed her, and I feel amazing. Unless you're a psycho, you feel that way. Unless you're narcissistic, you feel that way. Because only those disorders, those mental disorders, get gratification from seeing other people suffer. For a typical person, we suffer along with the ones that we are withholding love from. I see this all the time in marriage counseling. Two people who are suffering from desiring to give love to each other but will not give love to each other because of some reason that they've created, because of some grudge that they're holding, some resentment that they're holding, something that they won't let go. And then it stops them from giving the love that they owe. And unfortunately, as long as that love has not been dispensed, can I tell you what happens to me? You want to know? You will live in grief, young man. You will live in grief. And it's painful to carry a love that is supposed to go somewhere, but you won't give it because you've given anger as a reason, justice as a reason, fear of gold diggers. That's why these young boys that are doing these things are so fragile. And then you see them about how much they swear online. I'm like, you can see this kid is a confused little kid, and he's swearing at someone like me saying the things I'm saying, and I'm the age of his dad. And he could be learning something that can actually redeem his soul. Something to build. What do you want to build? If you don't want to build something, be part of something that's been built then. Like, honestly, guys, for all of you that are here and for those that are listening online, as a man, be something. Be part of something bigger than yourself. Go find it. I don't care that you're unemployed. Go find it. Go be part of something bigger than yourself. One of the foundations we have with the gentleman that helped me, Nico de Klerk, is called the Street Biz Foundation. The Street Biz Foundation is where we go and find what we call B.A. Nelsons. which are the young people that emulate the spirit of Nelson Mandela. And one of the young men is from Orange Farm, Tommy. Tommy decided that, you know what, I'm going to be part of cleaning the ecosystem. And then he started cleaning parks. And he started coming together the program without any money, without any resources to start cleaning parks. The next thing you know, the University of Pretoria got involved. The next thing you know, some other organizations in Europe started getting involved. As we speak, he's still living in another province, continuing the same kind of work. And similar many types of stories I can tell you about of many young people that decide to see a problem in society and decide, I'm going to be part of solving a problem. A solution that needs to be provided and say, I want to be part of the solution. Something that has been built that is beyond them, that is beyond monetary gain. And they say, I want to be part of that. And as they're part of the building, the solution, the problem solving, and an area that needs attention, as that happens, amazing things start to happen. They find their purpose. And as long as you find your purpose, then your purpose will open doors for you. And people that are supposed to come your way, come your way. That's what happened to me as well. Happened to me, and it's been happening to me all throughout. Whenever there is any kind of crisis of identity or purpose, it's become part of something greater than yourself. Problems to solve, solutions to give, areas to contribute, something to build. That's how you find your purpose. Character. What's the time, man? Character. And character is this: integrity, discipline, accountability, values, principles, and self-governance. A man must be known by their ability to control themselves, not feared for how much they can lose control. What are you revered for? Now, when you're angry, you can destroy everything and not care about what you destroy. Or that you can actually, even under the tremendous amount of pressure, exercise self-governance and act with intention, with strategy. And not destroy what you have built. What are you known for? In times of chaos as a man, of whatever, of character, does your character bring calm, order, or does it bring chaos and escalates any kind of chaos? It makes it worse. Or do you bring passivity and become a weight, a burden in times of crisis? There's a funeral at home. Hands are needed. Are your hands folded or are your hands working? Solutions are to be provided. You are needed to be involved somewhat in being helpful. Instead of being helpful, you are there with demands. You are there being a burden to an already burdensome, heavy situation. What kind of character do you have as a man? Because your character is the reason why you get invited or not invited to important occasions that need men of character, of integrity, can govern themselves, who are disciplined, who are accountable. And accountability basically means this, that you are dependable and reliable. We can all work through that. I am working through it even as we speak. And part of it is because, you know what, if you had a very broken upbringing, there are certain, unfortunately, foundational components that are missing in you. And one of the missing components when you grow up, especially without a very strong leadership, is a strong sense of accountability. You develop a very strong sense of independence. I'm very independent as a human being. Very independent. And independence is that I decide who comes into my way. But I have massive struggles sometimes with submitting. Because accountability basically means also realizing that there are structures that you have to account to and submit yourself to. And unfortunately, that's what gets missing sometimes when we don't have a very strong leadership, especially strong male leadership in our lives, is that our sense of accountability is warped. And we feel like accountability is taking away our independence. And that's why we don't we're very afraid of being controlled. I don't want to be controlled. Don't tell me what to do, woman. Don't control me. I'm a man. But a person that has grown up in a very healthy leadership structure understands the benefits of being accountable to a structure that is greater than yourself. Because part of accountability is also acknowledging, Kumo, it's about acknowledging your own limitations. Wuti, I don't have to know everything. So there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, Bukhosi, my brother, you're good at this thing. You lead it, because I'm not so good at it. You take charge of it. But you see, highly independent men that have grown up without a strong leadership structure have a problem letting other men who are even better than them at certain things take charge, because they feel like something's been taken away from them. They feel intimidated. And they develop a very suspicious mindset. Independence is great, but you are not alone in this world. You need to be codependent. And it's okay to be codependent. Oh, but I'm afraid if I tell people I need their help, they don't help me. Well, one day and sometime you will find people who will help. There are people in the world who won't help you. There are people in the world who will help you. And I find that many times that it's a lot easier, Sneh, to help someone who is helping themselves. I've heard this many times in Christianity. No, there's no verse that says God helps those who help themselves. I've heard this many times, and I remember I used to also say it, and I used to like it. But at the very same time, you know how God helps those who help themselves? It's called steps of faith. When you're taking steps of faith, what does the Bible say? When I was in the way, the Lord helped me as I was in the way. Right? You're praying and you're praying for a job, but you're not looking for a job. Hello? Is a job going to land miraculously through your email? Somebody's going to walk into your door and knock on the door. Hey, are you looking for an engineering job? Are you looking for an engineering job? I come from this engineering company. The God sent an angel or sent a dove with a note and said, go to this place. This young man needs a job. This is as a man, you must have a very healthy relationship with fear, specifically with fear of rejection. You must have a healthy relationship with what? Come on, say it, with what? Yeah. With fear of rejection specifically. If you're a man and you always fear being rejected, you'll become a very passive man. And not only passive, but you're going to become a very resentful man. Because you're going to see men who are don't even have 5% of your talent live lives 10 times better than yours. And you're going to be sitting there like a covert narcissist, telling people about how amazing you are, and nobody sees how amazing I am. And the only reason why you got the job is because you know people, or because you've sacrificed a child and put them under your house. Or maybe you've got in yoga, you've got a snake. You're going to be saying some really pretty crazy, weird things. Do you know why? Because you know that there is a greatness, there's a talent, there are gifts that God has placed inside of you. But they're not coming out. Why? Because you're what? Because you what? You have fear of rejection. Embrace rejection. Is going to happen. Rejection brings you closer to the next years. It may sound like a motivational talk, but it is a very scientific reality. That after you've applied, not everything that you've applied for, not every attempt that you've made to succeed in business is going to work out. Some of us have lost hundreds of thousands, if not millions, trying to make businesses work. You've knocked on many doors of many different companies and many different clients, and a lot of them have said yes. And if we didn't have a healthy relationship with, fear of rejection, we would have given up a long time ago. Hey, Pastor Joel, we would have given up a long time ago. It's a lot easier to celebrate and say, oh, how successful you. Do you know how unsuccessful I've been to be successful? Do you know? And I made peace with the fact that I have to be unsuccessful to be successful. Yo, somebody put that on a meme or something. Character, shaped by resistance, not comfort. Okay, if you don't have it, it'll compromise and break trust with others and with yourself. The reason why you don't even trust yourself is because you know that you don't even pull through for things that benefit you. And the more you go against yourself, the less you trust yourself. And sometimes, because of you know that you are untrustworthy, unreliable, undependable, and that you don't complete anything, guess what? You self-sabotage your own opportunities. Somebody says, listen, I have an opportunity for you. And then you've got 1,000 excuses as to why you can't do it now. Because you, in your mind, the back of your mind, you know, listen, I'm unreliable, I'm undependable, I'm not trustworthy, I'm dishonest with myself, I lie to myself, I don't ever complete anything that I say. I'm not accountable to anybody, not even to myself. The only thing I'm accountable for maybe is my own urges and pleasures and lusts and all kinds of weird things, which we don't have the chance to go through tonight or today. Discipline is the character in motion, especially without motivation. Discipline is what? Character in motion, especially without what? Motivation. We do a lot of things, Pastor Joel said. We do it angry. We do it frustrated. We do it with no money. We do it with no hope. We do it on our knees. We do it crying. We do it vomiting. We do it farting. We do it hungry. We do it hungry. We do it with smelly feet. We do it with smelly armpits. We do it with no hair, with hair. We do it hot and it's cold. We do it. We do what needs to get done, because discipline is far more important for a man than motivation. You don't need for somebody to tell you, oh boy, Nana, Kaluka. Like, we don't need that. And there's a point where you have to outgrow the need to be encouraged. And you encourage yourself in the Lord like David did. David encouraged himself in the Lord. And many of us are like David in the cave, running away from Saul by ourselves with no food. And we encourage ourselves in the Lord. Look at the bank account, and it's minus 3,000. Like, what the heck? It was 300,000 last month. What happened? You do it confused. Before we go on a short break, and then we'll come back and do Q&A, because, you know, I want to just make sure that we wrap this thing up. We're not going to be able to go through all the 12 battles. I can see that. No way. Listen to what I'm saying, not from a point of, wow, this guy thinks he knows everything. What of your experience did you hear and experience what I was saying? Take something from yourself. At the end of the day, you will never be part of anything meaningful in life if you have no character as a man. If you are, you know you're deceiving. And it's only a matter of time before you get found out. And our country right now is full of many examples of men who are being found out to have poor character. And the unfortunate thing is that sometimes some of these men, they die. And their families are the ones that have to pay for that terrible character. When they go and then asset forfeiture unit comes and takes away the assets from the family. They find out that there are some dodgy things that have happened while they were alive. And now your loved one has to deal with losing you, the pain of losing you, and realizing that actually maybe they never had you. Maybe you used them to shield your own character in public. Character is that I don't want to use anyone. Characters are saying, I shared a video the other day and I said, character says, use the help that's been given, don't depend on it. Don't create a dependency on help. Honor the integrity of help by making good out of that help, so that you can be eventually able to do things on your own, and hopefully in the future you as a man as well can be able to help others. Gentlemen, we should reject with everything that is inside of us anything that tries to make us feel like we are victims, because we have been given power unimaginable. We've been given power unimaginable, abilities unimaginable, opportunities unimaginable. We have them. They are ours to use, ours to take. Only have to be asking ourselves, as we look for these opportunities, who are we becoming? And how are we becoming that? And is that really who we want to become? Because the greatest battle that you're going to have, which we'll talk about after a break, lies not at the bottom of the mountain. Oh, that's an easy battle to win. I would even say that it's a lot easier to climb up the mountain. The toughest battle for any of us in this room will be how to stay on top of the mountain. Because it's the peak. It's narrow. If you fall, it's a long way down. There's a lot to lose. You need these things. You need character. You need integrity. You need caution. You need strategy. You need self-governance. You need to delay gratification. You need to manage your lusts and your desires. You need to manage your impulses. At the top of the mountain, those will cost you. The bottom of the mountain, you can be impulsive. You fall down, you get up. Top of the mountain, you slip and you fall. You take other people along with you, even as you go down. Who are on the top of the mountain with you? And that's your family. That's whoever's depending on you if you're a business owner. That's a society that has placed its trust in you. Let's talk to the politicians. That's what they're doing, isn't it? They're taking societies down with them. Our country right now, where is it? And who's running it? Is it women? Gentlemen, this thing is serious. It's men. 80% of them in our government right now. Still over 65% of them in high positions in the world right now. Where's the society? And you sit there, you think about it's not me, but one day that's you. And if you're not thinking that one day is not me, then maybe you are not as alive as you should be. Then start to look into your identity. Start to look into your character. Starting to look into whether you've got a purpose. Because one day you get to that top. And then God help us. God help us all. You, your family, your relatives, your dogs and your cats and your cockroaches. Because if you have not figured it out, oh, how many of us are going to go down with you once you get to the top of the mountain? Should we take a break, guys? I'm a man forged in struggle, climbing mountains unseen. In the crucible of life, I am purified, formed and set apart for a mission unknown. The weight of expectation presses heavily on my chest as I plant my feet to steady my soul. Press forward, my knees shake with each step that I take. I climb the mountain of character, where integrity is tested in quietness. My silence heard as coldness, as I shift from the shadows of opinions about me and I stand. Though the wind howls, the road is steep. Show me the cave of integrity, that I may go there and find solace. I climb the mountain of vulnerability, where fear whispers, hide, bury your pain, echoes in the walls of my mind. How can I stand in truth if I hide from the most alive part of me? This fear, strength in my honesty than in 1,000 facades. Courage has summoned my resurrection. I climb the mountain of emotions, no longer chained by silence, a prisoner of rage, to numbness, to pride. Nay, I feel and I will heal and I will rise. I climb the mountain of expectations, both self-imposed and whispered, in the wind of opinion, saying, you are only as valuable as your success, your power, and your strength. But I am more. If there's no wealth to count, a title to keep my back straight, no physique to face the beast, I have the fire in my spirit, the love in my hands, the purpose in my step. I climb steep, grip, and I pull to get on top of the mountain. Is that hindsight illuminating my vision? I climb the mountain of society's demands. 1,000 voices telling me who I should be. Culture, criticism, comparison, confusion, contempt, freedom. I mutter, forging my own path, walking in the identity given to me by God alone. And I climb the mountain of relationships, where loneliness has claimed too many men before me. I will not be an island, a fortress, a ghost of my own home. In deep love, I will bathe connections in my lifeline, a walk with my brothers, my companions. Oh God, hold my hand tightly as I take my breath. These mountains are high. The journey is long, and I climb because I was made for more. I stumble, I struggle, but I rise. I am a man, molded by trials, strengthened by grace, loved up to courage. I will not be defined by fear, by failure, nor by fleeting applause that intoxicates my pride. I will be defined by my courage to love and faith, pursuit of truth, surrender to the crucible of life, with God as my blacksmith. I climb, I fight, I rise, I live. Yes, in Him I live, in Him I move, and in Him I have my being. Say a prayer for me. I am a man climbing mountains.